You are listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, don't forget to add us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
Welcome to episode 69.
Ooh.
Provocative.
Very provocative. Gets the
Not
audience
really.
going. Oh.
What?
I said it gets the audience going.
I certainly hope so. But this is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about some myths that have been circulating recently. Two of them are going to be related to coronavirus because we're not done with it yet. And then two are just going to be kind of general nutrition myths that we've been seeing a lot of recently. But before we get into that, we do have some new nutrition in the news for you. It's not really nutrition related, but it is very relevant to what's going on right now. So basically, it's a potential vaccine against COVID-19 coronavirus. So an article that was released on April 2nd states that the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine scientists announced a potential vaccine against COVID-19. When tested in mice, the vaccine delivered through a fingertip-sized patch, so it's just a little patch that goes on the finger, produces antibodies specific to COVID-19 at quantities thought to be sufficient for neutralizing the virus. So good news, there is a possible vaccine in the works, but as we know, vaccines take a lot of time. But basically, the reason these researchers were able to act so quickly and develop this potential vaccine is because they had already done groundwork on earlier coronaviruses like SARS that was out a couple years ago. So one of the authors, her name is Andrea Gambato, who's a MD professor at the Pittsburgh School of Medicine, stated that we had previous experience on SARS-CoV in 2003 and MERS-CoV in 2014. These two viruses, which are closely related to the SARS-CoV, teach us that particular protein, which is called a spike protein, is important for inducing immunity against the virus. And they apparently know exactly where to fight this new virus. So they've done research on this whole COVID family of viruses for many years. So that's why they were able to work so quickly. And then what's also interesting about this is how they were able to deliver the drug. It's a new novel approach called microneedle array, and this helps increase potency. So how it works is it's a fingertip-sized patch, so pretty small, but it has 400 tiny little needles that deliver the spike protein pieces into the skin where the immune reaction is apparently the strongest. The patch goes on like a Band-Aid, and then the needles, which are made entirely of sugar and protein pieces, actually dissolve within the skin. So very interesting mechanism to deliver the vaccine. Much different than getting your flu shot type thing. But, this might hold some importance when looking at how this vaccine is, because all viruses are very different. They replicate very differently. And this is just how they found through my studies to deliver the vaccine most efficiently. So when tested in mice, this vaccine is called Pitcovac. That's the name of it. Pittsburgh COVID vaccine, basically Pitcovac. It generated a surge of antibodies against SARS-CoV-2 within 2 weeks of the microneedle prick. So obviously, these animals haven't been tracked long-term yet. It hasn't been a thing long enough yet. But the researchers do point out that mice who got their vaccine produced a sufficient amount of antibodies to neutralize the virus for at least 1 year. And so far, the antibody levels of the vaccinated animals seem to be following the same trend. So they're hopeful that the animals that were tested for the SARS-2, that trend followed a certain pattern. And then they're testing out for COVID-19, and it's following the same pattern as well. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But I found the delivery mechanism really interesting.
Yeah, you don't hear about that too often. At first, when you started describing it, it kind of sounded like getting a tattoo, but then you said sugar, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. It's almost like
So,
dissolvable little needles.
right,
So, I
right.
mean, I think it's interesting that the fingertip, what did they say? Is where it says the array is a fingertip sized patch of 400 tiny needles that deliver the spike protein pieces into the skin where the immune reaction is the strongest. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting for sure.
So hopefully we'll find some sort of vaccine. I don't care what form it's in,
I
but
know.
as long as we get it, and obviously even if we do get it, it's going to take some
It's gonna
time
take a
to
really long time.
get it. Right. So
Gonna be a while. So wash your hands.
yeah, and
Wash your
don't
hands,
touch your
people.
face.
Don't touch your face.
Yeah,
Exactly.
don't touch it. So with that being said, let's we wanted to kind of give an update on what's been going on the past week because obviously things are changing week by week, and especially in our hometowns, it's definitely changing. So as of April 3rd, so that was Friday, this past Friday,
Mhm.
we're not in the Southeast Texas area, we're not required to wear cloth face masks yet. However, it doesn't stop people from wearing them already right now. I swear I walked into Kroger during my lunch break at work with my mask still on, and half of the people in the store were actually already wearing masks. So
Mhm.
it's not like it's stopping people.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine that it will start to be enforced within the next week or two.
Mhm.
And our current cases as of the past Friday was 128 that was tested positive and 3 deaths in
Mm.
our area. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so that's where
So actually, as of April 3rd, here, all workers who come into contact with the public are actually mandated to wear cloth face masks here in San Diego. I don't know if that's nationwide.
no
Not nationwide.
nationwide. I think nationwide, Trump might have suggested uh like you can wear it if you want to,
Well,
but
not
not yet.
exactly. Not exactly. The World Health Organization
Right
is
there you go.
recommending it, but if you watch Trump's press release, I believe that was on April 3rd, he says, I'm not going to wear it. I'm not wearing that. Um,
That's
so
another
Trump doesn't
time, but
recommend it, and he's not going to do it because he can't just imagine himself in
uh,
the Oval Office talking to other important people wearing a face mask. He did say that.
for the time being.
Anyways, exactly for the time being. So if you are a essential worker, you are mandated in San Diego now to wear face masks. They've put in all the grocery store more shields,
Hmm.
for you and the workers, which is not a bad idea.
Right,
I went to the store, what was it, yesterday? So April 4th, because everything changes all the time.
right.
And that was after the World Health Organization put out their suggestion of wearing cloth face masks in public and gloves as well. I just
Hmm.
want to say, most people do not know how to wear PPE
Nope,
properly.
nope.
So I had to wait in line to get in the grocery store, obviously. And they had, nice little X's on the ground, 6 feet apart, so you didn't get too close to each other. Also in San Diego, they are not letting you bring in your own reusable bags anymore because they don't want the workers to have to touch more of your things than
Right,
possible. So I wasn't allowed to bring my bags in, so I had to get out of line, put them back in my trunk, get back in line.
right.
And then we're standing in line, right? And it's like kind of windy, like there's a nice little breeze out. So like people's hair is like getting stuck in their face, and then they're using their gloves to like wipe their to get their hair out of their mouth. And I'm just like, y'all, stop touching your face. Like just because you have gloves on, you've probably touched more contaminated things because you have a
Right.
glove on, thinking you're doing a good job. And
Hmm.
then like it's windy, so like your hair is getting in your face and everything, and they're just like
Oh man. Yeah,
you can
people
just
people who are wearing gloves think they're impervious to everything. And I'm like, just because you're wearing it doesn't mean like at work, all I'm doing is screening patients. Well, I'm
yeah,
doing much more than that, but in regards to
yeah,
patient contact, I'm screening patients and I change my gloves twice. And all I do is
a day.
uh no, per
Oh,
patient.
oh, per
I
patient. I was gonna say per day. That's not. Those
no.
are single use gloves.
No. I change
Okay,
my gloves out twice per
good,
patient. So
good.
all I do is pump the hand sanitizer, give them the stuff, re- remove my gloves, get new gloves, take the temperature, fill out the temperature stick with the gloves, and get new ones. So I mean,
Oh my
that's just
gosh.
that's just that time only. So people wearing gloves out in public, which I mean, I get it,
Me too. I
but
get it.
I
But if you're
also
not using it properly and you're eating food with your gloves on, like I've seen so many videos online of like people eating French fries with their gloves on. I'm like, y you're not helping. You're really not
no.
helping.
I
Anyway,
mean, that whole glove debate is a subject for another time.
exactly.
But
But
the
the
cloth mask is
point
fine.
is, your hands are very dirty. Your hands touch everything. Do not touch your face. Like, if you're gonna eat, wash. Like, these are just simple things. I mean, I feel like people who have maybe taken a lab before, like a bio lab or a chem lab or something, we've learned about how to keep things
Right.
clean because you were dealing with things that could potentially make you very sick. Or if you've ever worked in food service, you know
Mm-hmm.
how to keep your hands clean. But a lot of the population hasn't. So I don't think they completely understand how to
No.
use things and prevent cross contamination and just keeping your hands clean and not getting sick.
Yep.
I don't know. Just my opinion on that. So it was definitely an experience going out in the store. And another thing I
Mm-hmm.
want to say is go to the store like by yourself. Do not bring your whole family with you. It's not an outing. You're just like blocking the aisles, and it's impossible to stay 6 feet away from you when
Right.
you are in a group of people. Like the grocery store is not, you're not, it's not an outing, but people are bored. So they're literally just like browsing the aisles. And yes, they're watching the amount of people they're letting into the store, but you're just in the way.
Right.
Get in and get out. Like,
Right.
it
And
is
you're put not only are you putting yourself at risk, you're putting everybody else at risk too.
your entire family at risk too, you know? So grocery stores are definitely, I like
Mhm.
going to the grocery store. So it was kind of sad for me to have to go grocery shopping and not enjoy the experience because grocery
Sorry.
shopping is fun. Anyways, um, the positive cases here in San Diego right now, I just checked these stats as of April 5th at 11:04 Pacific Standard Time.
Oh.
AM, 1,209 as compared to 488 last week. So that's about 3 times more ish.
Hmm.
And our deaths are up to 18 as compared to 7 of last week. So
Hmm.
it's creeping up. It is definitely creeping up. And as you might know, last week the globe surpassed 1 million cases
So
that we
fun
know.
times.
That we know.
Yes. Anyways, let's kind of dive into our very first myth. So I don't know if you guys came across this. I came across this through a couple, like being Dietetics Anonymous, you get sent random stuff and you see random stuff. And so this one, like everyone always, oh God, I don't know how to say it. So basically, everyone's in quarantine, and yes, the alcohol sales did go up. So with that being said, there's been something going around in regards to how alcohol can protect you against COVID-19. Well, that's simply not the case. And it can actually be dangerous, which there's a meme about some people turning into alcoholics because of COVID-19, which I could see it.
Yeah,
But
I could see it too.
But first off, frequent or excessive alcohol consumption can increase your risk of health problems in general. So you're not helping yourself out. I mean, it's not like you having sanitizer in your body. It's not the same thing. I mean, it's I don't know how else to describe
I
it.
really hope no one actually believes that, but
Yeah, well, I've
um,
come across some interesting people. So anyways, second off, if you understood even like a little bit of how viruses operate, you would understand that alcohol does not do anything internally. It's just once it's in your body, it's in your body. All you can do. is wait it out like a regular cold. If it gets serious, go to the hospital. I mean, there was a potential remedy that suggested alcohol can protect you against the coronavirus. And it's actually funny because the president of Belarus, I'm not going to even try to attempt to say his full last name, Alexander, he tells his people that vodka and hockey are the best cures for anything, including the COVID-19 virus, which no. And we'll attach the article in the show notes too. I mean, he even suggested that after a sauna session, drink vodka to fight the coronavirus. I mean, I no, that's not a thing.
It's
And
not gonna help you with the virus. I mean, if that's what you enjoy, it might help you with your mental sanity,
or
but on a physiological level,
no,
no.
absolutely not. And even the World Health Organization warned that alcohol does not help you fight the coronavirus, which people still nowadays are like, the World Health Organization is they serve no purpose. They don't help us at all, which is the complete opposite of their entire mission.
Mhm. Yeah.
So here's what the WHO says: drinking alcohol does not protect you against COVID-19 and can be dangerous. They even added that excessive or frequent alcohol consumption will increase the risk of health problems, which we already talked about. And I mean, if you want to drink alcohol, that's fine, but please don't do it for the purpose of protecting against COVID-19. The
Yeah.
best medicine is food. And I don't mean mac and cheese, I mean like actual whole foods.
Well, alcohol is a toxin within your body. We did a whole episode
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Please go back to that.
It does not help your body function any better. If anything, you're just dampening your immune system because instead of actually putting energy towards strengthening your immune system, you're making your body put energy towards flushing out this toxin that you
Mm-hmm.
ever so saturated your
Right.
body with.
Right.
Isn't not going to help.
So your body's spending all this energy trying to put this out when it could be helping you out with something else.
Exactly. Like, I don't know, fighting a virus. Just a thought.
Just about.
So we'll move on to the second myth. And um, this one, yeah, my mom actually was very worried about this one because she saw it on Facebook a lot and asked my opinion on it. I'm just like, where does people get this stuff?
It's always Facebook.
Always
It's
Facebook
always.
with the boomers. Um,
No
uh,
shade.
no shade here. Um, okay, boomer. So basically, we also have this theory that Tylenol put this myth out to increase Tylenol sales. Okay, so the myth is that anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen actually make it so mad COVID-19. So basically, the story with this one is so on March 14th, the French Minister of Health, Oliver Véran, issued a statement recommending that people infected with the COVID-19 virus do not take ibuprofen or aspirin to treat the symptoms of the disease. Instead, he urged individuals to take something like Tylenol, noting that the use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatories such as ibuprofen could actually worsen the illness caused by the new virus. So that started with the French Minister of Health. So following that warning, published by him, an article was published in The Lancet, which is a medical journal. So this article hypothesized that an enzyme boosted by anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen could facilitate and worsen COVID-19 infections. I don't have that full Lancet article. This was taken from a Science Alert article, so I'm not sure the details of what enzyme that is or the mechanism within the body. But there was a research article posted that this enzyme might facilitate or worsen COVID-19 infections.
Mm-hmm.
So then on March 18th, the World Health Organization recommended that people suffering COVID-19 symptoms avoid taking ibuprofen. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. That was on March 18th, after French officials warned that anti-inflammatory drugs could worsen the effects of the virus. Since then, the World Health Organization has actually updated their statement and revised it to say, based on the current research, who does not recommend avoiding ibuprofen. So they've retracted and updated their statement. Um, I'm not sure what evidence they use to change it, but
Right.
I'm guessing that the one article just was not enough sufficient evidence to suggest otherwise. Um, that research article in the Lancet was likely, even though it might have been shown, like it might have shown that there was some enzyme boosted by it, there was
Mhm.
probably more research on the other side of it saying that there isn't.
Right.
So there's just not enough evidence to support otherwise. So as of today, ibuprofen seems to be a perfectly fine choice, but more research is definitely needed, and who knows what will come out tomorrow.
Right.
Every day the information is changing, and we've just never seen this before. But as of right now, there's not enough evidence to suggest that ibuprofen will aggravate COVID-19.
I just, it's really hard for people, like, and especially in a time like this, people want to take see, I just touched my face. People want to take every little thing that they can find in social media and
Mhm.
say, and pinpoint that and say, okay, stay away from this or definitely do this because
Mhm.
this is a really critical moment. People are really paying attention to every little thing
Yeah.
when people tend to forget the bigger picture of making sure you're keeping yourself healthy by trying to eat the more appropriate foods and just,
The simple stuff.
yeah, keep it simple, stupid. Like that should be
Basics. Yeah.
yeah, you need to go back to the basics with, doesn't matter what kind of cold or virus that we're facing. I mean, this is all this is a different strain. I'm not trying to downplay it, but
Right.
it is a different strain.
Mhm.
So what do? Try to keep your body as healthy as possible and not try to resort to these other drugs or anything else. And
Right.
that shouldn't be the focal point of anything,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
my opinion.
No,
But
100%. And there was also, because one of these original articles, one posted in US News, we'll have both on our show
right.
notes, saying that ibuprofen is not good to take. So
Hmm.
people were commenting saying, like, oh, well, I'm going to take Tylenol in anticipation.
Right.
Tylenol's not going to protect you. So just stop. Like they totally missed the whole point of
Right.
the article.
I
So,
mean, that's just a lot of human nature, unfortunately.
and that's also just how rumors start too, cherry picking what you want to hear. People
Hmm.
think they're doing this great and glorious thing for their body by taking Tylenol to protect it. That is not how viruses work.
No.
So, moving on.
So let's take a minute to kind of go away from coronavirus for a second. I know it's pretty overwhelming, so let's talk about some other myths that are some more bullshit. So for you guys to watch out. This first one, which it could be, a lot of people might think it's an unpopular opinion, but first nutrition myth is dairy products are fattening and unhealthy for you. So we're not talking about ethics here. We're not talking about being intolerant or not. If you're
Hmm.
intolerant, don't flip and eat dairy.
Right.
And if you don't like the dairy industry, don't. That's a that's a
Exactly.
subject for another time. So we're just
Right.
talking about dairy from a nutrition standpoint
Hmm.
today. So all fluid milk products and many foods made from milk that retain the calcium content, such as yogurt and cheese, are part of the dairy group. Also, people tend to forget calcium fortified soy milk. Soy beverage is also included. So, foods made from milk that have little to no calcium, such as cream cheese, cream, and butter, are not technically considered part of the dairy group. So, people don't typically think about dairy products as a source of good nutrition, but they do. They have protein to help build muscles and help with your organs. They also have calcium to help strengthen your bones. I just the bottom line. And most dairy products, such as milk and some yogurts, have added vitamin D to help your body use calcium, since many Americans don't get enough of this source anyways. And dairy products made from fat free or low fat milk have fewer calories than dairy products made from whole milk. So, I mean, if you're going to drink milk, do it because you're already doing it or you enjoy it. Don't do it. If you don't do it, no one's forcing you to have dairy. So according to this assessment, which we'll attach in the show notes, it says article, the most recent evidence suggested that intake of milk and dairy products was associated with reduced risk of childhood obesity. So that's just a link. In adults, intake of dairy products was shown to improve body composition and facilitate weight loss during energy restriction, which is a key word that everybody forgets when they focus on one specific food group. In addition, intake of milk and dairy products was associated with a neutral or reduced risk of type 2 diabetes and a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, particularly stroke. Furthermore, the evidence suggested a beneficial effect of milk and dairy on bone mineral density, but no association with risk of bone fracture. So, calcium fortified plant based drinks have been included as an alternative to dairy products in the nutrition recommendations in several countries. However, nutritionally, cow's milk and plant based drinks are completely different foods, and an evidence-based conclusion on the health value of the plant-based drinks requires more studies in humans. So just an FYI. And before you guys say anything, I did check out this article and see who it was provided by. It was provided by the Swedish Nutrition Foundation, so not by the dairy.
Not by the Dairy Council?
No, not by the Dairy Council before you guys come at me, because
Right.
that's another thing that I know a lot of people question, okay, you're advocating, like, I'm not even necessarily advocating for it. I'm just saying nutritionally, it dairy products are not that fattening nor are unhealthy for you. You just have to, people tend to forget the total calories in, calories out, the
Mhm.
nutritional benefits of food.
And also just overall dietary pattern as well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Are you eating, a bunch of cheese by itself, or are you eating your cheese on like a nice little salad with some fruit and some lean protein
Right.
as well? Or are you just like putting cheese on your nachos?
Or just eating quesadillas all the time. I mean,
Exactly. I don't know. We can't make that assumption.
right.
So, overall dietary pattern and, like you mentioned, total energy intake is the foundation of it.
Mhm.
And a lot of people tend to forget about that,
Mhm.
which is a good segue into our second nutrition myth, which this one gets me going a little bit. Because I hear it all the time, and I was definitely a strong offender of this back in the day.
I know.
Yeah, but we all make mistakes, live and learn.
Right.
So this nutrition myth is that you can eat as much protein as you want if you are on a diet. So let's just start by defining what I mean by diet. I mean a calorie deficit. I'm not talking about a particular dietary pattern like paleo, vegan, keto, intermittent fasting. I'm talking about calorie deficit, energy restriction. You're eating below your maintenance calories.
Right.
Um, that's what I mean by diet. Uh, so often when people are dieting and attempting an attempt to lose weight, they believe they need to eat more protein than usual to maintain their lean mass. And this is typically true, but not necessarily. So when energy is restricted, energy meaning calories, your body is likely to shift into a catabolic state, which is not necessarily a bad thing because fat breakdown is also a catabolic reaction.
Mhm.
So when you are breaking something down in metabolism, that's called catabolism. You're building something up, it's called anabolism. So when you're in that catabolic state, most people think like, okay, I'm going to eat more protein to preserve as much lean mass as possible. Yes and no. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we'll get more into it. So, by eating more protein than normal, so by more, slightly more. For example, this could be like 1.2 grams per kilogram, not
Mhm.
pound, versus 1 gram per kilogram. People forget the kilogram. They like to think in pounds. So let's just say you typically eat 1 gram per kilogram, but then you're going to go into a calorie deficit and bump it up to 1.2 grams per kilogram. That's what we mean by eating more protein than normal. We don't mean like doubling it.
Mhm.
So by increasing it a little bit, you increase the chance of preserving more of your lean mass despite being in energy restriction. There's also a lot more that goes into it, like sleep, exercise, stress,
Right.
whole shebang. So basically, the myth that came from this concept is that you can eat as much protein as you want if you're trying to lose weight or diet. There are three major flaws in this way of thinking. So,
Mhm.
first is that protein still has calories. It has four. What?
Oh.
Protein still has calories. 4 calories per gram to be exact. Calories are energy. So let's just say you're shooting to be in a calorie deficit, but you keep pounding down the protein, shoveling it in. You're probably not going to be in a calorie deficit anymore. If you're over consuming protein, you're probably still over consuming calories, over consuming energy. You're no longer in a deficit. A
Right.
common argument to this is that it takes more energy to break down protein than other nutrients. And yes, this is true. This is called the thermic defect of food. So let's break it down a little bit. So let's assume you ate 100 calories of carbohydrates. The thermic defect of carbohydrates is you'll burn 5 to 15% of those carbs breaking down the food. So this
Mhm.
assumes that 5 to 15 calories would be spent simply digesting and absorbing the food. Protein is 25 to 35%, so this assumes 25 to 35 of those 100 calories would be spent digesting and absorbing that protein. Fats is 5 to 15, so same thing. 5 to 15 calories would be spent digesting and absorbing the food. There is some logic behind this, but the fact remains you still need to be in a calorie deficit. That's all. No one is sitting around punching numbers, calculating the thermic defect of food, seeing if they're still in a calorie deficit. Most people are just like, oh, I'm dieting, I'm gonna eat more protein. So, no. So here's a fun fact. Unless you actually took a human metabolism class, you likely don't know this, but protein is made of amino acids. You might know that. But some amino acids are actually called glucogenic amino acids. So this means that some amino acids can actually be converted into glucose. This excess glucose can be stored as body fat if your energy, also known as your caloric intake, is too high. So yes, too much protein can actually make you store body fat.
Yep.
So you cannot eat as much protein as you want.
Plain and simple, people.
And then the second flaw in this thinking is that protein doesn't exist by itself, and food rarely does. The only time you might be getting close to pure protein is from like a protein shake or something, but then there are still even a few carbs and sometimes a gram or two of fat for just flavor and texture purposes, so it's never just straight protein.
Right.
So if you follow the mentality that you can eat as much protein as you want on a diet and you stock up on the fish, the eggs, the chicken, keep in mind that these foods still do have fat in them, and you're also getting calories from any cooking method you use, any sauces, any flavorings. And you're also probably not just like eating chicken breasts by themselves. You're probably
Mhm.
eating it as a meal, getting more of your other macronutrients from those foods as well. You are
Right.
rarely ever just eating protein by itself. Food does not exist in a vacuum. We've talked about that before. And finally, this way of thinking does not contribute to a healthy relationship with food whatsoever. So, by
Mhm.
giving protein kind of like the green light and glorifying it, we villainize carbs and fats from a dieting standpoint. Labeling foods good and bad leaves absolutely no room for understanding your food habits and your relationship with food. If you feel the need to binge out on protein, maybe your target calories are just way too low, leaving you to crave more and eventually blowing your diet, feeling like a failure, and starting the whole process over again. Happens all the time.
Mhm.
Protein is no better and no worse than the other nutrients. It has a vital role just like all the other ones.
So keep it simple. I don't know.
hmm
I mean, I feel like we always badger the same stuff or talk about the same things, but maybe one day people will get it. I
I mean, I'm guilty in the past. I mean, like I said before we started this myth, I was super guilty back in the day of feeling the
Hmm.
need to overconsume protein.
Right.
And these myths probably won't go away for a while. So I do
No.
think it's important to continuously talk about it because there's always new ways of thinking about nutrition that are always popping up.
Hmm.
Um, but most of the time, you're getting plenty of protein. We'll just leave it as that. And you cannot eat as much protein as you want on a diet because calories are calories. That protein breaks down into amino acids. Amino acids can be converted into glucose, and glucose can be converted into stored body fat, adipose
Right.
tissue. I don't know what else to say.
You've said it all.
You said it all.
So if you guys do have questions or concerns or anything about any of the stuff that we talked about today, please give us like an email, comment, shout out, anything, and just kind of give us your thoughts and ideas about it.
Oh,
I
show.
I don't know what else to add either.
So we will close out with our social media shout out of the week. It goes to Running on Glucose. She is an RD from Palm Beach, and she has a great page, a great blend of food pics, lifestyle, and motivation. So
And a,
thank you for your support. We see you. We appreciate you.
and a fantastic name.
Bye.
Running on glucose. I love it.
Me too.
So, no,
It's
we do
stuck out to
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah, we do appreciate it. And if you want to be our next social media shout out, please definitely continue to comment, like, all that good stuff. And we'll
Share stuff
definitely
with us. We like to see it.
know. All right, guys. Well, be safe, make good choices.
And use your PPE correctly.
All right, guys. We will stay safe. We will catch you in the next one, okay? Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a review
5 stars, no less.
on whatever platform you're listening to, or send us an email at keepingitjuicypodcast@gmail.com.
Or if you have any topics you'd like for us to touch upon, shoot us an email. Until next time, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Don't do anything stupid.
PPE correctly, please. Let me try that again. Correctively. Sometimes words don't come out right.